Welcome back. In this Blender tutorial, we're going to create the other coordinate transform, spherical to rectangular. Now, we can't just duplicate this custom node and go inside and play with things because it will also change the inside of the original one. So we have to do what we just did over again for this one. Anyway, let's minimize what's over on the right, just enough to see the wave. And we'll start here. So we'll drag this. We'll keep it there. All right, so the first thing is we want to calculate x. Let's add a math node. And we need cosine of phi. So let's change this to a cosine. And we'll drag phi in here. And what I like to do is remember that this is cosine of phi. So I'm going to make the label cosine phi. And then I can remember that. We're going to multiply that by a sine theta, but both x and y are going to use the sine theta. So let's go ahead and duplicate that cosine node. And I'm going to change this label to sine theta. I will drag theta to there. And so both my x and y calculations will use this. So the x will be my sine theta times cosine theta. So I need to multiply these together. So I'm going to add a math node and change the add to multiply. And I'm going to multiply the cosine phi and sine theta. But we also need to multiply this by r. So I'm going to duplicate again, go to multiply, and drag the r input over. So I can highlight these three and hit Control J, then just click on this frame, and for the label, I'll call that X. So let's start making a custom node for this, and then we can finish the conversion inside the node. So I'm going to highlight just these new nodes that I did, and under the node menu, make group, and it pops you by default inside of it. If I just hit the tab key, I come out and, now we can see this node group. And we want to keep the same order, r theta phi, so we can fix all that when we're in there. So let's go inside. The inputs, this top input is phi. This middle input is theta. This is not the order we want them in, but that's what they were from the outside. And then this last one is going to be R. Now we want R at the top, so I'm just going to drag it. So we have R theta phi. Now if we tab out of this, now we see the R theta phi, and that looks really nice. We don't have any outputs yet, but we didn't finish calculating everything. So I'm going to drag the X up here. And we can drag this output to the group output. And rather than just call it value, this is going to be X. All right, let's calculate Y. So Y is this sine theta times a sine phi. So it looks very much like X. So why don't we highlight all of that, Shift D to duplicate, and I'm going to select the frame, and under node, I have to click node to see the label. I want to label this Y. And this should be a sine phi for Y. So I'm going to change the cosine to a sine, which means I need to drag the phi input to that. I'm going to multiply by sine theta. So I'm going to drag the sine theta input down there. And I need to multiply by R. So I'm going to drag the R output to that last multiply. And then for the group input, I will output that value. I'll click on this group button and then double click on the value and change that to read Y. Last one is Z. So I'm going to duplicate this sine theta node, and I'm going to click on the node button and change the sine theta to read cosine theta. And we'll drag theta down to the input of that cosine. And then I need to multiply it by R. So I'm going to duplicate that. I am going to delete its label. And I'm going to change the cosine function to a multiply. And we're going to drag down the R. I'll select both of those, press Control J, and I'll click off of it, click on this frame, and label it with a Z. And then I'll just bring this over, and now I can drag this output to the group output, and it's just calling it value for now. So I click on the group button, double click on value, and change that to a Z. And we can scroll out, we can see our node setup for converting from spherical to Cartesian coordinates. And if I tab back out, we should see everything. So now this is the big test. We have the original X hooked up, and so we see our wave. If we've done everything correctly, we should be able to just use this X, and it's the same thing again. So let's go ahead and do that. And we wait for a second for the calculations to happen, and it looks like things are messed up. To figure this out, let's dive into this node again and try to verify everything. And I'm already seeing at least a mistake. Hopefully it's the only one. Maybe you even caught this when you were putting together the nodes, but this one node, which should be sine theta, I still have set to cosine. So let's set that to sine and cross our finger, and that looks like it's correct. So we can tab out of this now, and we can try the Y and Z also. We'll plug the Y in there. Give it a second. And we can plug the Z in. All right. That all looks like it's working. The one last thing I'd like to do is rename this. So I'm going to click on that node, and under label, I'll call it sphere to rect. All right. So we have done a whole lot of work to do absolutely nothing. How's that? And well, what's going to happen is in the next video, we're going to put in our little transform there, and we're going to see a cloaked wave. So I will see you in that video.